Hey guys! Psychraptor here. Today, I'm back with the podcast, and I need to raise the desk up a bit actually to properly capture this. I've completed my helmet. It looks so good. Except, uh, this here bit is a bit awkward, and there's some color that's off, but I'm fine with it not being perfect. I also haven't got the visor on. Today we're gonna get into the next set of episodes because I'm gonna get through 12 now. Let's get our start into ton, which is spelled 10, but I'm pretty sure it's 10. Starting on the correct section, Izzy wakes up from his stabbing, just left waiting for whoever would be coming to kill him. Maybe Shizuo or Anri or Kita. And earlier that day, Izzy was questioned by the police about who stabbed him. With Izzy hiding, it was Janai, knowing that the police found his secret knife. Despite the pain, Izzy plans to sneak out of the hospital, asking if his stabbing made the news, to which the nurse states it did. Okay. Mentioning his name. And Celti and Shinra are heading out on a day trip, meaning Shinra overpacks and Celti asks why he's doing so and why humans go all out on their days off. Shinra announces they're not going to rest their bodies and brains, but instead the state of endless normalcy. He grabs an extra pair of underwear, leaving Celti baffled as to why he would need them. Like, why do you need an extra pair of underwear if we're not going to go swimming? Shinra and Tom visit someone who owes a debt, who knows about Kasuka, trying the Kasuka cash cow angle to avoid his debt, which was resulting in a wall-breaking flight for him. It's like, don't mention this guy's brother. At the same time, Mikia turns the news off so Akane doesn't see the report about Izzy. Nami is indifferent about Izzy getting stabbed, allowing herself to show her obsession for Seiji privately without Izzy around. A mysterious character does research into Izzy's location after seeing the news report. Rio and her parents are keen to go enjoy their day shopping as Rio's narration talks about what people who live abnormally do on their days off. Verona prepares to head out for the day, while Mizuki sends Akane off to hang out with Maru and Kururi, and Seiji and Mika run into Mikado. Rio wonders if these abnormal people desire to seek even more unusual experiences. Izzy is bored with nothing to do. I just had toast, so my fridge is like got that stuck in it. Yeah, so like Izzy is bored with nothing to do, wondering if the rumors he stockpiled are about to take effect. Some of the rumors are about Shizuo being hit by a truck and is in critical condition, and that he has a girlfriend. And that Akane is the girlfriend's kid, hoping those culminate in Shizuo being attacked. Okay. And Rio gets a message from Non about yesterday and how crazy it was, knowing that even if it's a holiday, Ikabukuro's activities never stop. Tom and Shizuo and Tom go to Russia's Sushi, and Mika checks out a warehouse alone, and Anri runs into Mizuki and Kita, and Mikado sort of mope around Ikebukuro. Like, this intro is like really wild. It does a lot of stuff right out of the gate. Izaya calls Shinra, ruining his photo op of Celty in a Victorian dress. But Shinra doesn't care that Izaya got stabbed. Seeing the police spy on him, Izaya messes with them by setting Shinra up and making himself look good. Shinra's photo is ruined again when the police call him about his illegal activities before Izaya calls him again, just to say he intentionally ruined his day. He wishes death upon Shinra before hanging up. Oh, he wishes death upon Izaya. I don't know why I wrote Shinra. Before returning to his photo op of returning to take his photo of Celty. Rio reflects on the interaction with Morita and the human traffickers, followed by Celty and Izaya, only to be bumped back to reality by the mysterious orange-haired character. Erica and Walker talk about how kids lash out by insulting people when they can't find the right words to praise their favourite actors. She asks Walker if he prefers Believer or Believer X Anti or Anti X Believer, but he doesn't if it's Boys Love or Yuri. Kuhei and Saburo talk about the events of the last year, with Saburo saying he'd believe in aliens and ghosts even if they were to occur. Kuhei believes that the world is designed to balance out eventually, even if Mika got attacked by Nami throwing bandage scissors at her, or Verona getting attacked by gang members. He says they need to be prepared to be dragged into any turmoil out there. Shingen rides with President Satoru Yagiri to warn him about Janai and avoid him at all costs, saying the threat he poses is radioactive. Bringing up Celty's head, Satoru stops in his track to ask what Shingen is talking about, but not taking it any further. Igor asks if Janai is really that dangerous, but Shingen changes the topic to Hollywood and how she even fled from Janai, asking why Janai would even work with Yagiri Pharmaceuticals. Shingen explains he's a broker. Shingen goes information on Sayaka, Celty, and her original hideout in Ireland from Janai, before asking Igor if he was slashed by Sayaka. Reaching the evening once again, Izaya waits to see who has come to see him, but doesn't recognize who it is. It's the orange-haired girl, and she quotes Izaya's message from his seppuku trolling days, or escapades, where he talked to multiple considerers at once. With the orange-haired girl and another girl, he drugged them both, saying the lines she just quoted to him. She tries slicing Izaya across the face, but he dodges and tackles her to the ground, taking her down despite his own injuries. Izaya is impressed by how fast this insignificant girl tracked him down in half a day, reminding him of how he got started on the path he's on now. He says he's the lowest kind of human, which he's perfectly fine with because he adores everyone else. Apparently, during Shinra and Celty's day trip, what they thought was an extinct Japanese wolf turned out to be a werewolf, and the priestess they saw rocked a vampire vibe. The conversation is interrupted by the presence of Aoba, who wants to become friends with Celty and Shinra. And now, let's go and explore this weird day trip that Shinra and Celty experienced in episode 1.5. Shinra provides narration for Shooter as the episode joins Shinra and Celty on their day trip. At a rest area in the forest, an actor reads the script, surprised that a Shinigami is already appearing in the story. He's getting annoyed at having to wait for the director to show up, who's obsessed about shooting at night, but as soon as night falls, it's apparently too late because the sun is rising. Huh? You want you want sundown then, mate. One of his fellow actors, Hirayama, is fully dedicated to his role, waiting in full costume and staying in character. He doesn't talk, he howls. Celty notes that Shinra is excited to be out with her because the last time he was out on her bike was back when he was a kid. He's also excited to see Celty changing into various outfits for him today. She creates a cone to create an illusion of herself changing clothes in front of Shinra, with him asking her to show him one time wiggling her arms to put it on the sleeves of an outfit. Her first outfit is a Sailor Fuku school uniform, which Shinra acts like a schoolboy, confessing his crush to a classmate for the first time. The annoyed actor is so fed up with no answers from the studio about filming their scenes, and the Vendetta actor tries to stop him until they see Hirayama in full character go outside, full on, on all fours. Celty asks why Shinra is getting so worked up over her outfit, and Shinra explains that he believes no matter what timeline he and Celty would have met, wanting to explore every possibility with her. But also, seeing Celty in her outfits gives him an uncontrollable passion, and she asks what he is going to do with it. Or what that has to do with it. I miss certain words for some reason. Shinra tries to ride Celty, only for her to be saved by Shinra's phone ringing, and it's Nami wanting Shinra to do the same surgery that he did with Mika again on Mika. Wait, what? Shinra lies to Celty, saying it was Seiji on the phone, and that he and Mika had a fight until she breaks him and confesses to lying. Keeping the secret of Nami's surgery request, he lies about there being a hot pot party at Yagiri's Pharmaceuticals' third warehouse, confirming Nami's attack on Mika was real. One of Shinra's reasons for the day trip was to keep Celty as far from her head as possible for today. The annoyed actor sees that Hirayama went outside to stretch and prevent his limbs from going stiff. He decides to call Miki to see if they have finished filming their Vampire Shrine Maiden section, but can't get service on his phone. Celty decides to change into her next outfit, much to the chagrin of Shinra's schoolyard fantasy. She senses something in the forest at the same time. At the same time, the annoyed actor gets a signal and calls Miki. Miki explains that her group is still waiting to film their section, but they're having more fun with stuff to do. It's like, oh man, you get drinks? We got nothing. We're getting the crap end of this. Celty returns to Shooter and Shinra, explaining she felt the presence of a fairy and went to say hello. She also addresses the fact she heard Shinra shout about taping over her World Mysteries Discovered recording last week, tickling him as punishment. Shinra gets another call, this time from Shizuo, who's calling to thank him for clearing everything up yesterday. He's surprised that Shinra called to give him thanks, as he rarely does so. Not even at the coming of age ceremony they had. In a flashback, Shinra calls both Shizuo and Izaya, telling them to come to the coming of age ceremony, with Shizuo wanting to knock Shinra out and Izaya getting treated like he treats others. At the ceremony, the speaker for the ceremony is Trago Gensendorfer. I don't know how to pronounce that, but he's a character from Vamp, who expertly catches Shizuo's vending machine toss and continues talking like he expected it to happen. Shinra is then sent flying towards the stage, but Trago caught him and sat him down with no issues. Which is impressive. Shinra says he wanted to be punished by Celty, so she blackens out the carriage windows and plans to neglect him for a bit while she changes. At that moment, Shinra gets yet another call, which allows her to see Celty's naked body. Woof. And it turns out it was Miki, who was accidentally given the wrong number by the annoyed actor, who is now not in signal range. It's like, ooh, that's awkward. That is so awkward. Undarkening the windows, Celty reveals her night outfit and asks if Shinra saw her naked. His reaction is that the arm is something like a Dahlhan's natural appearance and wants to get a photo, but she changes into the actual outfit she was going to show off, which is a Victorian maid outfit. The annoyed actor hears Shinra screams at his follow-up being interrupted by Izaya calling. Shinra tells Celty about Izaya's stabbing and hospitalization before delving into something embarrassing he learned about Izaya back in middle school. This is the fact that Izaya hates dogs and will literally climb a power pole to escape them. Poor dogs. His follow-up is interrupted again by a call from the police while outside the carriage, Shooter trolls Hirayama. Shinra tells Izaya that he hopes he dies and hangs up, only to immediately get another call, this time from Celty. Celty's like getting at the with all the calls. Hirayama does his how to get Celty and Shinra's attention, and the annoyed actor sees Hirayama's amazing method acting. The two get some peace finally, with a beautiful view of Mount Fuji, and Celty reveals she has some cat-made ears. Or made cat ears. Shinra goes to get a photo of Celty, only for another call to interrupt the chance, along with the annoyed actor's mask falling on his head at the wrong time. This time, Seiji is the one to call Shinra, trying to find Mika. So, Shinra mentions Yaguri Pharmaceuticals' third warehouse before hanging up. Katsuka wraps filming for a scene of his movie, receiving flowers for his hard work. Shinra and Celty come across a shrine, deciding to take a break, and the episode ends with the actors hearing an actual wolf howl. Also, at one point, Hirayama had his mask off, and he was just jogging past in the rest of his outfit. Just like, hey, absolutely normal about it. But we have no time to say hey, we gotta get to episode 2, where Shiki fails to get through to Izaya on his phone, so leaves Izaya to whatever he's up to. However, sees that Izaya and himself might have been underestimating Mikado's true power. Socialization. Miki asks Shinra if Junai has anything to do with the Awakusa group, but Shinra is unsure if he does. She brings this up because Shiki asks her to keep an eye out for him, making Shinra wonder if it has to do with the Ruri case. The news runs its report on Izuya's stabbing incident, focusing on Nami's reaction to the news. Both slight worry for Izuya and elation on getting to show her emotions for Seiji on the outside. Mika is waiting for Seiji to spend another day with him, with Seiji suggesting they go to the movies today, or while Maru and Kuri watch and narrate the scene. Reporting to Nami, she learns that Seiji and Mika are currently watching Kasuka's new movie, Vampire Ninja Camilla Caesar Beginnings. She gives them a bank card as payment for the surveillance they have done for her, telling them to destroy the card after emptying it. Maru questions why she's paying out so much for simple surveillance, and Nami says that gaining knowledge on Seiji is too valuable for a price tag. Based on Nami's calculations, Maru and Kuri are surprised by Nami's hourly wage working for Izuya. Maru and Kuri receive a call from about Izuya's stabbing because their parents are working overseas, making them the closest family members. The police are appalled by Maru's response to a little stabbing of her own brother, and Nami notes they seem not to care about Izuya in the slightest. Nami asks what Seiji calls Mika, and Maru answers that he calls her Mika without honorifics, which upsets Nami. As Seiji and Mika leave the theatre, they walk past posters for Old Noah Zero, Sensorol Connect, Samurai Flamenco, SEO 2, and Baccano. I'm looking forward to Baccano, because that's going to be the next on our list of anime. Seiji asks Mika what she thought of the movie, and since the movie doesn't change the plotline's future that much, she thinks it might not be the real past, but instead a parallel universe. That's very complex storyline building. He's reminded of Celti's head every time he sees monsters or vampires, thinking about how it's been over 6 months since Nami went missing, and she knows where it is. Mika picks up on his worry for his sister, considering many people might be after her, but Seiji describes her as tough and evil. Seeing Mikado's beat-up face, Seiji asks if he's okay, and Mikado lies, saying he just took a tumble down some stairs. Mikado mentions that it's been a whole year since that day Seiji tried attacking him during the Dollar's first ever meeting. Mika tells Mikado to not make Ari cry as he goes to leave before saying they'll see him at school. Seiji is surprised that Mikado brought up the Dollars unprompted, thinking it means something special to him, which it sort of does. Nami watches Seiji and Mika from a distance from a greenhouse as her face switches between pleasure and disdain. At Russia's Sushi, the two enjoy some crab sushi, complete with the potential to catch a harmful bacteria like Vibrio parahemolyticus, I'm pretty sure I butchered that, or a virus like norovirus, or a parasite like lung flukes from eating raw crab. I hope that crab was at least boiled for safety. Seiji sees Verona, and Simon thinks Seiji has an interest in her, but neither he has an interest in her, nor is she willing to sell her body to improve the store. Simon still thinks that sexual harassers should commit to an end, using the less formal word of harakiri. At least it's less similar than seppuku. Mika gets annoyed at Seiji for eyeing Verona, but the argument is halted by Mika receiving a call from Nami and wanting to meet privately. Nami tells Mika she's willing to hand over Celti's head, but first she wants to speak to Mika alone. She says that she has the opportunity to hand Celti's head over to an overseas company for protection from the police and Yagiri Pharmaceuticals. But she wants that to be a last resort. She wants to consult with Mika about what to do with the head without letting Seiji know. Tom, meanwhile, tries to get Shizue to tone down his violence by instead threatening debt owners by betting a coin in their face. Shizue apologizes for his bad work, but Tom says that he's good at his work and apologizes to Shizue for dragging him into dangerous jobs. They decide to go to Russia Sushi, and at the same time Mika arrives at Yagiri Pharmaceuticals warehouse number 3 to meet with Nami. Nami locks Mika in the warehouse, also apologizing for making Mika dream an impossible dream, talking about Mika's disappearance. She chastises Mika for that day when she broke into Seiji's apartment, but Mika responds that it's not convincing when it's from someone who used her and made her get plastic surgery. Nami throws her bandages at Mika, but she blocks with a convenient pocket trowel that she keeps on her in case she gets a chance to eat Celti's head. Nami realizes that if Mika eats Celti's head, she becomes the head itself, so she attacks Mika with a bone saw, seeing her as her rival. She earlier called Shinra to get him to Warehouse 3 for an emergency plastic surgery on Mika, but he's busy with Celti. Mika gets the drop on Nami, holding her trowel to Nami's neck, but Nami wins with a paralytic to knock her out. Asking if she kissed Seiji, Mika is unwilling to say if she had, but confirms it with her expressions. So Nami kisses her to remove the sensation of kissing Seiji from her. Oh! She then prepares to scorch Mika's face with an acidic chemical, explaining that it won't kill her. Mika makes her last words be to show she understood what Nami was talking about at the start of their conversation, and that she knows more than she lets on. She even knows stuff she was never involved in with people she wouldn't know, like Sloane and Verona's involvement with Izia, revealing her secret to be listening devices. She has this information to use to intentionally put Seiji in harm's way as an attack against Nami. Seiji arrives in time to stop his sister from giving Mika an acidic facial wash, meaning he heard everything. He found the warehouse through discovering Mika's lie about Henri and tried calling every person he knew until Shinra told him about the warehouse. He also reveals that he saw Nami kiss Mika by kissing her and saying that she doesn't like it if someone other than her boyfriend were to kiss her. Nami runs away before Seiji can ask where Celti's head is, leaving Mika and Seiji to figure out that Izia has it, but Mika has searched 3 of Izia's apartments and hasn't found it. Having to carry Mika, Seiji asks what Mika would have done to it if she found it before him, and she says she would have eaten it, which is just gross. But is it technically cannibalism? No. Is it technically cannibalism if it's a Dullahan and not a human? Questions you should ask someone with more knowledge. When Mika is finally able to walk, she tells off Seiji for kissing his sister, and that she has no clue about women. Or that he has no clue about women. but said she didn't actually kiss his sister by putting his fingers on his lips. Oh, that's sneaky. Traumatize her without actually doing it. Clever. Episode 3 starts off with going back 6 years. Mizuki used to be a solo person in the underworld, confident about his strength. That was until he got attacked by Sayaka, who gave him the scar he has today and made him part of the Sayaka army. Presently at a dance club, some girls are desperate to score some sweets from some sketchy men. And we know these are actually sweets, right? These are nut sweets. Mizuki interrupts the deal by flushing some of their product down the toilet to get the men's attention, catching them in the act of selling and putting Purple Hoodie Guy on the ground. The blonde dealer kicks one of the girls for snagging the sweets off the floor, so Mizuki drags him by the ear and trips him into the urinal. Pink Hoodie Guy apologizes for not realizing who they were messing around with, and Mizuki asks who gave them permission to sell the product. Mizuki talks about how the stuff they're selling is illegal and offers Pink Hoodie Guy 2 choices of being handed over to the cops or having his arms broken. Mizuki comments on Pink Hoodie's ink, but it's actually just a sticker and he's just doing this for extra money. Since Pink Hoodie has a boss, Mizuki has his people take Pink Hoodie away for questioning with Kazamoto. After wrapping up the product bust, Mizuki is called over to the head office to speak to Mikiya, who wants him to come to see Akane tomorrow. Akane wants to talk about something she wants to keep secret from her parents, and it's how to gain the upper hand in a fight to the death. Okay. Mizuki lies to Mikiya, saying she's just had some questions about what happened the other day, and that she wants to get into exercising. Changing the topic to the product bust, it turns out those men are just members of a college club called Heaven Slave at Raira University. Those hired in a dealer communicate by Vodafones, so Kazumoto is having the provider trace the numbers. Mika is annoyed that average punks can move in on his company industry through the internet. According to what Mikia has heard, Heaven's Slave is inspired by the dollars, believing them to be an online pharmaceutical pharmacy. The big boss, Dogen Awakuzu, promises to someone that his group will not interfere with their plans, and to say there's no need for them to involve his group either. Dogen's bodyguards are amazed that the remnants of a group are still after Mizuki, even reforming their gang to go after him, believing him to be the one that killed their boss. That night, Mizuki was attacked by Sayaka. He was planning to rob one particular shopkeeper who had picked a fight with the Awakuzu organization over his debt. Mizuki expected an easy fight against Sayaka, who is possessing Anri's mother's body, when she suddenly starts drawing extra blades from every part of her body. Literal spikeball moment. Tell me she's no different from... what was her name? The main female from Soul Eater. Why am I blanking on her name? She was partnered up with Soul in that show, who was a weapon. Why am I blanking on her name? I'll probably think of it at some point. Dodging the attacks with ease, he was struck down by Sayaka at the last moment. Revisiting that very store, he's surprised to see the store still hasn't been sold, and runs into Anri, who thanks him for saving her 2 years ago. Mizuki asks Anri about the dollars, which surprises her, and she lies about just hearing about them through her friends. Seiji shows up to ask Anri about Mika, which leads to his discovery about what's going down between Mika and Name. Mizuki remembers more about that night, hearing Sayaka's collection of voices in his head, wanting it to shut up so bad he tears out his right eye, like full on. Doing so makes Sayaka retreat into Anri's mother's body, Sayaka Sonohara, which makes her glad someone was able to stop her. Sayaka wonders if Mizuki is going to kill her, but she just wanted to say he saw her as being beautiful and has fallen in love with her. She explains she already has a husband and can't return the expression of love Mizuki has shown for her. When she tells him her name, it turns out that the shopkeep he was about to rob was her husband. Oh, the coincidences you see. Mizuki receives a call warning him about that his past is about to catch up to him and kill him. That night, a group of thugs from Heaven's Slave tracks down where Mizuki is living, ready to beat him up and kill him. Meanwhile, Mizuki meets up with his old gang for one-to-one talk about what happened 5 years ago with their leader, while the others just want to beat him up. When one of them looks outside to check for people, a Molotov cocktail comes out of the darkness. The other gang return fire on Heaven's Slaves group, and leading to a fight between the two groups, with Mizuki just casually slipping away, saying he didn't kill their boss. And 5 years ago, Mizuki's old boss notes that Sayaka and her husband are dead, meaning that land is now theirs without having to have done anything. He believes that the slasher got them and that the Sonoharas were done either way, since he got the husband hooked on the pills and goading him into committing murder for insurance money to repay his debt. The boss figures he could try fabricating a promissory note in order to attempt to make more money out of Anri, but not before trying her out. Gross. A random kid ended up being the one to kill his boss for revenge on behalf of his sister. And Mizuki did nothing to help. Mizuki even helped the kid hide the fact that he killed Mizuki's old boss, cleaning off the knife of the kid's fingerprints. Logan reads the news about the attack that went down last night, thinking someone was there to help Mizuki out. He seems unable to figure out who let Mizuki know he was being targeted. Out on the street, a kid tries attacking Mizuki with a switchblade, only to end up on his back being told to go home and be a normal kid. Mizuki wants to try and keep Anri and Akane from being dragged into bizarre situations by showing them the thin line between day and night. Oh, we're at episode 4. The story about Shizuo saving Akane is spreading like wildfire, but not with 100% accuracy. But then there's the rumor that Shizuo is in critical condition, either by a girl, or hit by a dump truck, or tossed off a building. The other rumor of Shizuo having a girlfriend is also being shared around, with the add-on for him having a kid. This brings the story back around to the debt ower that tried working the Kasuka cash cow angle in this wall-breaking flight. Verona is currently working at Russia's Sushi, and Dennis tells her to not look unfriendly when working in the service industry. She wonders why she's stuck in such menial work, remembering when she woke up in Russia Sushi. Dennis told her that Sloan might be dead depending on how useful he is to the Awakusa group. He asked if she was going to try rescuing Sloan, and she was thinking of it, but she's more ashamed of herself. Simon and Dennis made Verona work at Russia Sushi, so she has work to do in order to find bliss. Verona thinks about how Ikebukuro has easily humbled her and reminded her that she's weak. She recounts what happened when she fought Shizuo, how she just ran even though her brain was telling her to fight. By the end of that fight, she was declared weak by Ikebukuro and herself, thinking there's no point in her existence anymore. Mizuki takes Akane to Rakue Gym after hearing her out about the story that she wants someone to kill. She has someone to kill to protect her family. Akane doesn't reveal who she wants to kill though, and who told her she has to, saying she's just upset that her family lied to her. Mizuki is amazed at Akane's grown-up thoughts, deciding to take her to Rakue Gym for self-defense classes, but adds she doesn't need to kill to protect. Maru and Kurori also show up at Rakue Gym for their self-defense class today, and Mizuki accidentally embarrasses Akane by revealing who she is. Maru explains that you should go for the family jewels, and nearly kicks Mizuki in the face and leads Akane into the gym. I think she's got this. She's a bit confused, but she's got the spirit. The family jewels are a bit lower though. Unless she sees the eyes of the jewels. Verona is surprised by the arrival of Shizuo and Tom at Russia Sushi, watching as they casually sit down to enjoy some sushi, and Shizuo calls Shinra to thank him for clearing up the Awakuzu incident. They realize Verona is staring them down, asking Dennis if she's a recent hire, but he describes her as a Russian knick-knack. Tom asks Dennis how to say "you are attractive" in Russian, which annoys Verona for such random lip service. Dennis asks how Tom's business is going, seeing if they're short-handed, and when Tom says there are more deadbeats to go after, he suggests they make use of Verona. Ooh, that's gonna be awkward. Tom is appalled that Verona is being put out on collect jobs with him and Shizuo. Explain to her they retrieve from those that won't pay up. At their first job with Verona, the group of guys they're trying to collect money from surround them in preparation to pleasure themselves with Verona instead. Why? Instead of paying up. Instead of gratitude, she takes them down with one punch each, and it happens at every job. This explains the rumors about Shizuo having a girlfriend, but at least dies down the serious injury rumor. It doesn't help that Verona only says that Shizuo whenever they walk to work. Taking a break, Tom should have realized Verona would be very strong the moment he found out he was Simon Dennis's friend. Shizuo asks her if Verona's into martial arts, noting how strong she is. She explains that she just trained in the basics of the basics. Verona thought this opportunity of working alongside Shizuo would be a way to learn how strong or powerful people would be, until Shizuo explains that he's all arm strength and that she deserves the respect for being strong. Tom mentions that Shizuo does respect one martial artist, and that's Trager Geisendorfer. He says that Shizuo could easily win a gold medal in weightlifting, then wonders if gold medals are made of actual gold. Verona shows her book smarts by explaining that the Olympic gold medals are not pure gold, but actually 6 grams of gold put over 92.5% purity silver, and that pure gold was used until 1980 for Nobel Prize medals. The reason for the switch is that medals made of pure gold are excessively soft enough for your teeth to leave marks. Don't try that with your gold coins if you have any. It won't work. Maru, Kurori, and Akane just so happen to come across Shizuo and hugs him, conflating the having a kid part of the girlfriend rumor. Verona is confused by what's going on, thinking Shizuo is under the Awakuzu group's surveillance. Maru and Kurori think Verona is pretty as well, wanting to hug her. Aww. Bless your bisexual hearts. But Shizuo warns them against doing that. Akane thanks him for yesterday, surprising Maru and Kurori that Shizuo and Akane know each other. The twins almost reveal that Izia got stabbed yesterday, but Tom drags him away and back to work, telling Verona to stay behind. With them gone, people try to prepare to try kidnapping Verona, Akane, and the twins. Verona is surprised that Maru and Kurori know of Igor, and Akane asks her if she's friends with Shizuo, which she denies. A big group of kidnappers show up for the 4 of them, only for them to be beaten up by martial arts, Kurori's habanero spray, and Akane's taser. If I remember correctly, at least one character gets tased in the balls. Learning that they are trying to kidnap them to use against Shizuo, she revels in taking them out, and how easy they are compared to the people she has faced in the past. She's now determined to become stronger to be able to defeat Shizuo. The kidnappers back off from their attempt just in time for Shizuo and Tom to return and see them running away. Verona explains to Akane that Shizuo is actually her prey, which upsets Akane because she wants to be the one to take out Shizuo. Just missing Akane and Verona's... Tom gets back right before Shizuo. He went to quickly grab some cigarettes, just missing Akane and Verona's declarations of Shizuo being their prey. The kidnappers escape to a parking lot, only to be confronted by the Awakuzu group. Probably because they tried kidnapping Akane. Shizuo finally asks if he's seen Verona somewhere before, to which she asks if she can keep that a secret, and he buys her an iced coffee. Accepting the iced coffee, Verona makes it her mission in life to understand Shizuo. Now, a rumor is circling that Shizuo is the Awakuzu's boss's illegitimate child, which keeps them away from attacking Shizuo to avoid being on the bad side of the Awakuzu group. So, it was like, multiple rumors led to one attack, and then this one rumor led to protection. Wow. That's impressive. Okay. I'm back. We gotta get into episode 5. Where a new character practices his kickboxing on a punching bag. And after his practice, he licks a picture of Ruri he keeps on him. Summer has arrived in Ikebukuro, and Ari notes that her old self wouldn't have realized the change in season. She's wondering if Mikado saw what happened with her fight against Verona, but she can't bring herself to ask him about it. Mikado asks if Ari has any plans for the summer vacation, and she doesn't, and Mikado wants to hang out with her at some point. She can't figure out what's different, somewhat suspicious of Mikado's behavior, especially since he hasn't been in the chat room recently. Naoba gets a call from his mum to let him know that Ran is out of prison while he watches Mikado from the roof. In the chat room, Kururi and Maru are excited for Kasuka's newest movie, making Celti ask how deeply they have fallen for Kasuka. Hida brings up Ruri and her relationship with Kasuka, but more to mention that she might have a stalker, and the twins at that Ruri's stalker might be part of the Dollars. And speaking of the Dollars, some members are harassing a businessman for donations, heavy quotation marks on that, only be stopped by the blue squares wearing shark masks. They say they're there to help out the businessman surrounding the bad Dollars members and plan to unsubscribe them from the Dollars. According to Kururi, the masks they're using are the same masks that members of the Blue Squares used to use. Meanwhile, on the way home, someone taps Anri on the shoulder. Akane is keeping up her practice at Rakui gym of rolling backwards on the dojo mat, then back to her feet multiple times. Raru asks if Akane is doing good with her training, but he can't say, leading her to call him out on having no motivation to teach others and calling him sleazy. She tries to goad him into doing something perverted to her, which, if he did, get Mikage Sharaku, his younger sister, angry. Hearing someone practicing upstairs, the martial arts teacher says that it might be Kisuke Adabashi practicing and warns Maru to stay away from him. He believes Kisuke isn't training because he wants to get stronger, that he has this menacing vibe about him. Kisuke is the one with Ruri's picture to lick and eat in private, complete with a duffel bag full of backups after he eats them. It's like, dude, imagine having a diary of Ruri pictures. It's like, you'd be the weird one in any social situation. Celti notes that Izia hasn't returned to the chat room in a while, and Ruri is upset by how abandoned the chat room is nowadays, coming up with the idea to invite their friends to join. Out on the job, Celti chases down two cars that have the arsenal to fight back against a regular person, but not her, even returning an RPG rocket back to the cars to blow them up. She also takes down a helicopter after it blows her into the water, all to get a snake back to a little girl. It feels like it's some sort of movie thing. However, she is scared of Kinosuke's ability to dodge all of her shadow attacks. And getting back home to the city Shinra, he explains he bumped into Anri on the street, and she wants Celti's help with something. Tom, Verona, and Shizue get back to the office, and the receptionist says that someone is here to see Shizue, and it turns out to be Kasuka. He is here with Ruri in tow to ask Shizue for advice, but everyone is gawking at Ruri and Kasuka, which is distracting for them. Kasuka reveals that Ruri has seen Shizue's finding up close, but doesn't reveal that she's Hollywood. Shizue thinks this is all about Kasuka and Ruri dating, but Kasuka is actually there to ask about the dollars. Anri asks Celti about Mikado and how he has been acting differently recently and very positively, like back when Kida was around. At the same time, Kasuka mentions that there might be a stalker within the dollars, and that Shizue might know something, but Shizue explains he's no longer a dollars member anymore. Ruri has discovered she has a stalker when she found something jammed in her keyhole, locking her out of her apartment. Following this, her stalker started coming to her photo shoot sets to scatter blurry photos of her everywhere. All of Ruri's usual blacklisted fans all have alibis for where they were during her photo shoots. So, it's someone new. The ones behind the dealing of information on Ruri are part of the dollars, and to get in amongst the group, you need an invite to their internal forum. Kasuga is going to be taking Ruri in for the time being to keep her safe, meaning he can't leave Dokusan Maru at home alone in case the stalker breaks in. Irony seems to believe that Mikado knows about her Sayaka secret, since he said he doesn't care about what secrets she has, and that no matter who she is, he can create a place for her and Kita. Shida notes that Mikado might be believing in his own power now over believing in his friends. Salty remembers when Aoba came to visit them at their address, noticing how his visit wasn't to make friends with them. Shinra compares Aoba to Izia, which upsets him to be lumped in with Izia, the type that has to have the world in their hands. Shinra was prepared to kill Aoba, but Celsi stopped him, and Aoba says he just wants an email address and he'll back off. She asks Henri if Mikado has any suspicious friends and that he's been close to lately, and she mentions Aoba. The conversation is interrupted by the arrival of Ruri, Kasuga, and Shizuo, with Dokusan Maru on his head. Henri is left wondering what he could do to help Mikado if he has changed, while Kita figures he needs to go to Ikebukuro again because of a rumor of blue squares within the dollars. He wants to go for Mikado and to set a school for himself, and Henri warns Kita that going to Ikebukuro might be dangerous. Kita decides he's also returning to Ikebukuro because he wants his friends to meet Saki. Mikado is glad that nobody got hurt, clearly unaware that one of them didn't knock someone out with a baseball bat. And he says they don't need to push themselves too hard. Aoba mentions the rumor that Ruri's stalker is being in the dollars, and Mikado doesn't want them in the dollars. Some new people join the chat room under the names Gaki, Sharo, Junsui 100%, Saki, and Chrome. Meanwhile, the stalker has tracked Ruri to Shinra's apartment. Oh no. Ruri's stalker has a whole corner of his room blasted with Ruri's head on monsters, including his free computer monitors and phone screen. Like, this guy is next level obsessed. Along with having one of Ruri's songs as a ringtone. As Ruri performs at a concert, a new narrator talks about a dream Ruri had where she realized her fantasies by herself. The narrator recounts Ruri's history, how it was deep in the mountains of the Kanto region, her father and grandfather going bankrupt, their house burning down, and her parents going missing. Ruri never knew where her grandmother was, having never seen her for as long as she can remember, and not knowing why. All evidence of her grandmother had been removed from the household with no reason why. The other kids in her town teased Ruri, calling her and her grandmother monsters with no reason to. But she was happy for them doing so, without knowing why. Ruri suddenly developed a sudden interest in the monsters she saw in movies and TV shows, seeing them as destructive and free. When she left town, Ruri became a makeup artist under the guidance of Tenjin, wanting to be able to give shape to her dreams on her own. Her success as a makeup artist led to her meeting Kusane Rurigari, Kujiragi, and Janai, offering her a deal to become an idol. Currently, Janai is calling her stalker, who is Kisuke, noting it takes a while for him to answer, and that's because he's savouring Ruri's voice and purposely cutting it off like he's destroying her. Kisuke can't wait for her to die, which is probably why he has her figurines posed in ways of a dead body. He doesn't care that Ruri killed his dad, almost jealous she did it first. Junai is calling Kisuke to do something for him in order to gain info on Ruri, telling him she's getting in contact with Celti. Shizue brought Kisuke and Ruri to Celti because she has deep connections to the dollars. Shinra is disappointed that Shizue didn't text that Ruri and Kisuke would be coming, because he would have had turkey and cheesecake ready for them. Ruri is surprised that Celti lives with Shinra, and wondering if Celti has recognized her, but she hasn't. All the while, Sayaka is losing it in Anri's body over if Ruri is human or not, until she's distracted by Dokusun Maru's choice to tackle a Mount Everest that is Anri's massive chest. Cheers. The chat room is alive with all the new chat room members as Kuri and Maru observe everyone's messages. Meanwhile, Saburo is looking at a website dedicated to Ruri, seeing that they're reprinting a photo book and has to buy it. Erika and Walker from behind their first photos of Sword Art Online and Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, respectively. Wonders if Saburo buys each edition each time they reissue her photo books. Saburo is suddenly annoyed at the fact that someone by the chat name Living Sacrifice Boy keeps saying they have secret photos of Ruri. Walker brings up the rumor that Ruri's stalker is in the dollars, and Saburo wants to flatten him with his van. Don't worry, Saburo. You'll get to flatten someone soon enough. Kyohei runs into Mikado, who is on his way home from meeting with a friend. Mikado notes that Kyohei is working the night shift. In the chat room, Kuri messes with Sharo by guessing they're the actress Sharon Stone, but Maru knows she's wrong. Kyohei asks Mikado if he keeps in touch with Kida, and Mikado says it's mostly over the internet. He follows up by asking if Mikado is still in the dollars, saying that some people are doing weird things under the dollar's name. Mikado says he wishes those people weren't in the dollars, saying that if people were more like Kyohei and Celti, it would be a lot more peaceful. Kyohei hopes Mikado hasn't gone off the deep end like Kida before noticing someone in a dragon zombie jacket pass by on a bike and saying that the group is back in Ikebukuro. Simon pushes a customer out of Russia sushi, and while outside the store, he spots the shadow of someone who is Izia. Ruri sits in front of the dressing room mirrors after a stage performance, being told about a get-together with some sponsors, along with the CEO of Adabashi Life Insurance by Janai. It's revealed to be a memory or hallucination due to Ruri's lack of sleep over multiple days. Doku-san Maru messes up Celti's work on discovering who Ruri's stalker is, but confirms Kasuka's words about the forums on Ruri. The narrator says that Ruri prays she'll be the only one sacrificed, which is an ironic thing to think after being the Hollywood serial killer. Kasuke knows about the get-togethers that Ruri goes to, and what happens at them after following her to one. He pieces together that Ruri and Kasuka left Doku-san Maru at Celti and Shinra's place. Celti calls Mika and Seiji over for help with finding Ruri's stalker because Mika herself was a stalker and to ask how it would be easy to break in. To which Mika states their locks are old. Mika explains how there's many devices that she could use to easily break into the apartment, like a thumb turn device or a bump key, suggesting they change their locks. Max has a meeting with Ruri and Kasuka. Impressed they arrived early, but his assistant calls him out for being 20 minutes late. He bounces back from her comment, saying 20 minutes is nothing in the universe's 30.6 billion years. Snapping his fingers, his assistant leaves an envelope on the table, while he tells Kasuka to go stand in the corner, facing the wall, and listen. Max knows about Ruri's stalker and is worried about her safety, showing her a photo of the get-together Kasuke spied on. This get-together was actually a test of Ruri's ability to rapidly heal from any injury, all while she laid unaware she was an actual monster. Ruri's father came to see Janai to demand Ruri back, and he uses his knowledge of her father to force Ruri to keep performing. However, she discovered that Janai used his men to have her father murdered, which led to her becoming Hollywood. Kasuka still doesn't care about Ruri's history, even after seeing that photo, telling her to calm down first, and that his words are meaningless. Ruri's surprised to hear that Max thinks she appeared in a kinky adult video, but Kasuka explains later that Max might know it's not from an adult movie. Kasuka calls Max a villain, who does flout the law, but still sees him as a kind of villain. Kida is wondering where to start collecting information, spotting Shizuo and Tom and rushing to them to apologize to Shizuo. Mika and Seiji walk to Anri's apartment, where Mika asks if Anri and Mikado have kissed yet. Anri has Doku-san Maru, and Kisuke has followed her to her apartment to get the cat. Kida stops Shizuo to apologize, revealing his name to Shizuo. But he doesn't lose it on Kida because he learnt from Celti that Kida didn't do anything. He does, however, flick Kida in the forehead so hard, Kida does a full backflip, and Verona is confused by what a flick or a smack is. Kasuke tricks Shinra into opening the front door by claiming he has a package delivery, giving Shinra an absolute beatdown. Like, body-damaging beatdown. We're up to episode number 7. Mikado uses his admin privileges on the Dollars forum to discover that his friends are being targeted by a group within the Dollars. He calls Celti first, telling her to hurry back to her apartment because Shinra might be in danger. Kida asks if they can go to Russia Sushi so he can thank Simon, and Verona has noticed someone is following them. Celti finds Shinra battered to a pulp with a broken leg, but still alive, taking him to the hospital. In the chat room, Chrome starts a private conversation with everyone because of how serious the topic of Rory's stalker is. And Rory's stalker seems to be on her agency's blacklist, according to Chrome. But the news said they all have alibis. Chrome says they're all in cahoots because the stalker is actually the blacklisted people. Verona stops the stalker trying to attack from behind with acid, with a member of the Blue Square stopping a second attacker from the front with a taser. Realizing it's a Blue Square, Kita gives chase, confused as to why they would save Shizuo. Izia suddenly returns to the chat room, surprised that no one is around to talk to, figuring they have private mode on. Chrome wonders who this hyper person is, and everyone believes they're the admin for the dollars. While Salty races Shizuo to the hospital, Saki narrates about how Kisuke sniffed out like-minded fans to build a team of stalkers, inviting them into an underground forum for trading info on Ruri. However, Kisuke has kept the knowledge of Ruri's Hollywood serial murder secret to himself. Kisuke wishes to look after Dokusan Maru in place of Ruri, unaware it's not her cat. One of Kisuke's members, number 3, is terrified of the Blue Squares chasing him down, calling Kisuke and saying he didn't sign up for this. Mikado's shock is from discovering a document of data on people believed to be acquainted with Ruri. Anri receives a message from Celti warning her about the stalker and explaining she took Shinra to the hospital. Kita easily defeats the Blue Squares he corners, accidentally knocking him out cold. Upon accessing the Blue Squares' phone, learns that Mikado is the leader of the Blue Squares, which upsets him. Anri looks outside for the stalker, and Dokusan Maru accidentally gets out, which leads to Kisuke kicking Anri into the wall. He's glad to have stab-proof shoes on, which protect him from Sayaka's defensive attack, calling Anri non-human like Ruri. However, Kisuke is more focused on catching Dokusan Maru, and Kita races to find Anri running into the other Blue Squares and overhearing them talk about Anri. Dokusan Maru just happens to run right through the Blue Squares, and Kisuke instinctively knocks out Neko, defeating the other Blue Squares with ease. Failing to even damage Kisuke, he pretends the remaining Blue Square is Ruri, considering they're about the same size, choking him and slamming his face into a wall. Kita finally steps in to save who he believes is Aoba, scoring Kisuke with a cheap blow below the belt. Ooh. Kisuke doesn't go down for long though, roundhouse kicking Kita to the ground and stepping on his chest, not caring if Kita knows Ruri or not. With Kisuke distracted, the remaining Blue Square sets him on fire using lighter fluid and a lighter. Kita is angry at Aoba for using Mikado in whatever he's doing, but he's surprised by the reveal that it's Mikado. Aoba arrives in the van and checks on Mikado and meets Kita for the first time, but already knows that Kita was the leader of the Yellow Scarves. Mikado tells Kita to leave Ikebukuro until he's made it safe for Anri and Kita to return to. Figuring that Kita is going to see Anri, Mikado asks him to stay quiet about him and return Dokusan Maru to her. Anri shows up right after Mikado's departure to grab Dokusan Maru, and Kita shouts at her to wait a little longer, running away. Mikado decides to leave home for a while, worried Kita might make a move against him, and in fact, Kita is regathering the ex-Yellow Scarves to to talk. In the chat room, Mizuki asks Anri how to read her chat name, saying it's Saika and that it's like a fairy tale her mother told her. One of Mizuki's employees confirms that Izaya has returned to Ikebukuro, that Mikado is aggressively purging the dollars from within, and Ari and Mikado aren't dating. Seitaro and Jinai are the true ones behind the stalkers in an attempt to retrieve Ruri, but Seitaro is more interested in Celti and how level-headed she is in the face of Shinru's severe injuries. Seitaro now wants Jinai to retrieve Celti, Anri, Ruri, and Celti's head. Shingen is peeved off at Seitaro letting his son get hurt, wanting to get revenge on him by smashing his face in with everything he has. Despite his claims, Shingen is thrown out by the dojo master at Rakure Gym for demanding to learn a deadly punch in 2 minutes. Shingen does make an appealing offer, only for him to be axe-kicked by Mikage and told to take over. Keisuke survived his impromptu fire stunt gone wrong, sacrificing a lot of backskin in the process. He's also annoyed to learn that Max claimed that Keisuke's photo was a leak from a film he was working on. Perfect protection. That's when fellow burn victim Ran shows up with a hammer in hand, happy to have found Keisuke. The dojo master mentions Shingen in the chat room, making Izaya question if he's telling the truth, and Kururi and Maru wish they met him and wanted to spread rumors about Shingen and Celti. Chrome brings up a movie about a gas man, making Izaya ask if Chrome likes movies. However, Izaya is actually both Kanra and Chrome. Nami sees this, thinking Izaya started doing something weird, which Izaya figures out, but she says it's sad. However, this is part of Izaya's plan of manipulating the chat room's opinion of him, and says he's offended by Nami saying he's friendless. Izaya has gathered many close allies together, like the orange-haired girl, Dragon Zombie members, Haruna, Sloane, Kisuke, Ran, Mikage, and a bold guy, welcoming them to the dollars and asking them to join him for Hot Pot. It's time to get... We're at episode 8 now, where Izaya has been caught by Earthworm, who figured out he was ordered to investigate them by the Owakuza group. Earlier that day, Shiki gave Izaya his mission to investigate an underground casino called Amphibania. I think it's Amphibania, that has been operating on Owakuzu's turf. The Awakusa group has been led on multiple wild goose chases to events like matchmaking parties. They believe Amphibania is operating right in front of them using IC chips, but they don't have solid proof. Seeing Celti pass by being chased by the traffic cops, Shiki changes the topic to Mizuki, and that he got in a fight with some youngsters within Heaven's Slave. Apparently, Heaven's Slave is also looking for Amphibania, but Shiki tells Izaya not to concern himself with that. Shiki then asks if Izaya knows, if Izaya goes by the name Nakura, mentioning how he's the guy that filled Kane with a bunch, or knows someone by the name Nakura. Yeah, that works better. Mentioning how he's the guy that filled Akane with a bunch of bizarre ideas. He drops Izia off at Rakure Gym because it allows him to pick up Akane at the same time, and Izia introduces himself to her. Luckily, Izia planned ahead for that eventuality and never messed with Akane directly. Interesting. He thinks he thinks at least 4 steps ahead in everything. That night, a Heaven Slave member talks about how angry a mysterious Mr. Kumoi is in not having their failure of dealing with Mizuki, but also getting in with another gang. Yeah. Revealing his arm to have musical notes carved into it by Dart. Mr. Kumoi told him that they are the dollar's shadow, being number 2 in Ikebukuro, but that position is not secure, and that's why he wants to find Amphibania. Back with Amphibania, Earthworm talks about how their owner doesn't like being investigated, and that she wouldn't mind showing Izia more. She asks if Izia has anything to do with Heaven Slave, but he doesn't talk. But he still doesn't talk, but does react when Earthworm mentions Kuri and Maru. This is an odd reaction, especially since Maru has recently tried to kick him in the back of the head and calling him a disease. The dojo master, Ejiro Sharaku, almost nails Izia if it wasn't for the reaction of his sisters. Ejiro is upset with Izia because of what he said to Mikage that made her drop out of high school. Mikage axe kicks Ejiro to shut him up about her unfair assault and to stop fighting Izia. Earthworm has some fun with Izia, pouring water over his head and asks for 3 dozen more 2-liter bottles, planning to pour them over his head non-stop. But since he doesn't answer, she'll have Kururi and Maru drink 10 liters of water each. Ooh, that's cruel. She thinks she has the upper hand because there's no way Izia could have prepared for this. Celti and Izia talk at distance about Jinru's injuries, with Izia talking more about how fast he's recovering, being at Nebula. Izia has a job for Celti in exchange for information on the person that attacked Shinra, and if he's lying, Celti promises to tie him up and deliver him to Shizue. He says he never lies when it comes to business, so Celti asks who he brought with him, but Izia says there is foot soldiers and sort of his bodyguards. Izia's job for Celti is to transport information over several days, a little bit at a time. Heaven's Slave is onto the fact that Celti is involved, meaning Izia is involved, with Hiroto Shijima, that of the dart carving, confirming that Izia has been investigating Amphibania recently. Hiroto talks about when Mizuki intruded on that deal. Some of his clients were making bank at one of Amphibania's casinos. He sent some comrades in as a test and never heard from them again, realizing he has started investigating Amphibania. Breaking a chip open, Hiroto exposes that inside the chip Amphibania uses, there's a transmitter and bug, and that's what Mr. Koi wants to build a new network for Heaven's Slave. That's why they are trailing Izia, because if he's working for the Awakuzu group, they have to get rid of him, along with getting the information from Celti. Earthworm knows that Izia is friends with Celti, considering she's been gathering information on Amphibania, along with thinking he had her approach Heaven's Slave. She's about to light Izuga's head on fire using kerosene, but is interrupted by the arrival of Hiroto with Heaven's Slave. Hiroto reveals he doesn't know Izuga at all, but he did use Izuga to investigate Amphisbania through the laptop he gave Celti. Celti left a bag containing the laptop with Shooter, who chases after the Heaven's Slave members after they steal it. The laptop contains software that shows the location of transmitters and listening devices in Amphisbania's IC chips, allowing Heaven's Slave to find them. Ophone and Hiroto get calls that the caller connects to each other to talk about Izuga and give them a quiz. The first question is what do Lizard of Amphisbania and Mr. Kuromoe have in common, which is they have symmetrical moles under both eyes. The second question is, does the person with the sack on his head have moles under his eyes or not? But instead of revealing the answer, the caller leads straight into the third question. Who is inside the sack? Lizard or Mr. Kuromoe? Turns out the one in the sack is actually Izuga, and the one behind the caller's run, disappointed to have his cover blown already. Izuga pretended to be kidnapped in order to get Isabania and Heverslade together to talk business. He reveals he could see really well for the bad choice of sack Earthworm chose. Heaven's Slave prepares to fight, but Mikage defeats them all with relative ease, saving Hiroto for last. Izuga reveals he got to Amphisbania before they could get to him, thanks to Haruno's Psyker, which allows him to fake being kidnapped. Earthworm jumps on the bar to grab and wreck a bowl to attack Izuga, but Ran hammer-bros her knees and breaks her fingers with his hammer. Ouch! With himself and Ran failing to convince Earthworm to their side, Izuga asks Haruna to take a swing at it. Literally. Haruna tries to make Izuga a member of Sayaka in order to get all the information on Takashi out of him, but he dodges her attack. Izuga reports to Shiki that the Amphisbania group and their leader Lizard had already vanished by the time he started digging. Shiki mentions that Heaven's Slade also vanished from the market 2 days ago, and Izuga suggests they may have destroyed each other. Shiki says that the Awakusa group is not completely clueless to Izuga's actions, and that Mizuki wants to talk to Izuga. Breathing in this tower is very annoying. Also, it's getting hot. I need to go and put AC on, just so I'm not overheating. Let's get through these last 4 episodes. We're at an hour and a half at this point. I want to get this done before 2.5 hours pass. So let's get into episode 9, where Kasane meets with Nakura, wanting to talk about Izuga, who Nakura knew back in middle school. Nakura asks if Izuga is using his name again since selling his name to him, which confuses Kasane. Izuga once wanted to make an online purchase of folklore research books under Nakura's name. He never went to class, but Nakura saw Izuga talking to Shinra, but never learnt his name. Kasane is unable to explain what her research is about, but Izuga's name has popped up on the list of beneficiaries her company maintains. Nakura mentions that Izuga once said that his favorite hobby is observing humans, and it's not in a condescending way, comparing him to cat lovers. Celty is finally pulled over by the traffic cops, but they won't listen to her as she has checked the laws on needing headlights for a horse. Kosuke admits defeat to the fact that horses don't need headlights, but gets her on the difference between light vehicles and motorcycles, as well as the speed limit. She escapes on a bike, right past Izuya and Shiki's in-vehicle meeting, managing to lose the cops and get home. Shinra is glad Celty is home safe, even with his injuries, and tells her she doesn't need to apologize. He's glad Celty has been keeping him up on date with what's going on outside the house, and that it helps with his pain, and that she's the best medicine for him. Shinra compares himself to Izuya, but Celty says his stabbing was brought upon himself by his actions, unlike Shinra's beatdown. Despite that, he and Izuya are still friends, leading Celty to ask about Izuya's past, in particular a scar he got from a knife. 12 years ago, Shinra suggested to Izuya that he wants to start a biology club with him, because the teacher said you need at least 2 people to start a club. Shinra's thought process was that since Izuya likes observing humans, or living beings like humans, but Izuya doesn't want to start a club. Izuya believes Shinra has no friends, which he does at his current school, but he does have one in Shizuo at his previous school. Shinra doesn't want to be in a club, but Celty is pressuring him to be in one. Despite him rejecting Shinra's offer to make a biology club, Izuya dug into Shinra's background and in turn found them interesting. During the summer vacation, Shinra and Izuya try to make a plan for something to do. Izuya says that if Shinra were to drop dead right now, he would observe Shinra's decaying corpse and display him at the cultural festival, which Shinra notes that's what they would do in the USA. Shinra mentions, what if he doesn't rot, referencing Celty without mentioning her by name. And Izuya says he could get by with ventriloquism. Shinra continues to find where Izuya would draw the line in being in love with something like a zombie. A month later, Izuya has a habit of betting on baseball games, which Shinra wants him to stop. Shinra sees Izuya as a friend, and as a friend, he doesn't want to see Izuya caught up in essentially gambling. Izuya calls him a puppet who panders to his family, but Shinra doesn't mind being a puppet if it means he loves his family. As a result of their argument, Shinra got stabbed by Izuya, which makes Celty mad, but Shinra says it's not that clear cut. And falls asleep before finishing his story. Nakura calls Izuya to learn that Izuya knows how the interview with Kasane went, saying he's not good at lying and making Nakura think Izuya is around. He suspected that Kasane is not an insurance agent, and Izuya confirms she isn't one or a Yakuza, complimenting Nakura's observation skills. Izuya's actions to stop Amphisbaenia, which is a type of lizard by the way, had also protected Nakura from the Awakuza group, since he and Nakura founded that group in high school. He explains to Nakura what happened to Amphisbaenia, that it didn't fold immediately but was taken over by Earthworm. They both also knew about Hiroto and his underground product group Heaven Slave, with Nakura also serving as the founder, going by Kumoi. As a side note, Nakura is taking his phone call in front of the cinema, which has some posters for World Conquest Saida plot, Old Noah Zero, The Irregular Magic High School, and Sentinel Connect. Turns out Hiroto was controlling Heaven's Slade through a falsified fear of with Mori freaking Nakura out, but Izia calms it down by saying Heaven Slave is done too. Nakura doesn't know what to do, but Izia, calm as ever, tells him to complain to his past self. Back in the story at the middle school, Nakura showed up begging for his betting money back, pulling out a knife. Izia grabs a stool, prepared to fight Nakura, knowing what he did to people that did win money, thanks to the complaints from them. Instead, Shinra took the knife for Izia, which made Nakura run away. Shinra treats the wound temporarily with duct tape, and Izia takes the blame for the stabbing to protect Nakura and get him under his control, with Shinra's approval. Celty explains that her job was to retrieve IC chips, have a laptop stolen off her on purpose, and protect Maru and Kurori. When she saved Kurori, Celty told her to thank Izia for saving her from amphithania, and at the same time, Ejiro saved Maru from the same group. The night after the job was completed, Celty says her opinion of Izia has changed a little after he had her save his family, but Izia warns her about looking for the good in him. Izia's other information for Celty is about Janai and how he was the mastermind behind the stalker who attacked Shinra. His reason for having Celty protect his sisters was to prevent them from being at the bar with Haruna around. Nami tells Izia to say she has some sympathy for Celty this time round, and it's because Izia decided to mess with Celty by having her head so close to her without it knowing. Celty now knows that Izia has her head, but doesn't know why he has it. As a bonus for Izia, he gained the trust of Maru and Kurori after what Celty did for her job. He's winning. We're getting close to the end though. We're at episode 10, where Henri is glad to see that Kita looks well, even if it was just for the one day. But gets distracted by her thoughts by Erika. Erika just got out of a cosplay club meeting with another member named Azusa. She tells Henri to try cosplaying, all while the boys of the van group hang at Russia Sushi. Kita arrives at Russia Sushi, sporting his yellow scarf, asking Kyohei for some help. I don't know how that happened, how that misspelling happened. Ran narrates how everyone is scumbags, with those achieving higher levels of scumbaggery like Hiroto. Hiroto has returned home to be the mooching type of scumbag, keeping his product dealing ring a secret. He sees that his grandfather, Jichiro, are in dealings with Janai and Kasane. Apparently, he has been working for Janai without realizing it, so Jichiro and his dad know about the product dealing ring. Jichiro helps out his grandson, but Hiroto is now under the thumb of Janai. Janai mentions Izia, and that he'll believe he has Hiroto under his control, but he'll be Janai's eyes on the dollars. You'll understand why I'm doing a lot of quotation marks there. Soon enough. Run moves on to narrating about Kita and the boys of the van group, saying Walker needs to be arrested not for arson, but for being delusional. Kohei gets straight to the point, and it's Kita asking them to leave. Asking them to leave the dollars and help him with the yellow scarves. Kohei responds by saying they wouldn't betray the dollars so quickly, and fires back that he is unhappy by the fact that he's even asking or even having to ask. Kita simply states he wants to destroy the dollars. Shiki talks with Takaaki that Gichiro contacted him to talk about the incident with Hiroto, wanting the situation swept under the rug. This allows the Awakuzu group to keep an eye on Janai through the spending of money. Takaaki thinks Shiki will be taken over, but he's just praying Janai doesn't cause any trouble, like what happened to Yumije Kazuhara. Shiki says to not bring up Yumije so lightly that he was the reason Kine was kicked out of the gang. Kicked out of his gang, I mean. Meanwhile, Yujime's daughter, Maju, is being interviewed by Shuji about the dollars. Maju wouldn't mind arresting Shuji for stalking her, but Shuji explains that this interview is not for the magazine, that he's looking for his daughter. She asks if Shuji has filed a missing persons report, but she's technically not missing because she messages him. Shuji decided to investigate Haruna's computer, thinking she's still obsessed with Takashi, and discovers she might be involved with the dollars and wants to find her. Ran narrates more about calling those that sign up for the dollars, saying that those that sign up for the dollars scumbags, and calls himself and the audience scumbags too. He focuses on Aoba, calling him the worst kind of scumbag, as he takes a call from Maju about Suji sniffing around the dollars. Aoba runs into Ran on the streets, preparing his taser, but noting that Ran looks completely different now with black hair. He also says that Ran's burns aren't so bad that he was worried about them. But Ran fires back that Aoba burned his room years ago, which Aoba did as revenge on Ran for smacking him around. Ran still believes Aoba did set his room on fire, grabbing him by the nose. Talking about how Aoba couldn't handle the blue squares 3 years ago, giving control to Ran. Aoba started the blue squares 3 years ago for fun, but lost control of it after Harada joined the gang. Ran wants to kill off Kyohei, Walker, and Kita, and once they're dead, he'll come after Aoba. He knows that Mikado is the leader of the dollars and that Aoba is friends with him, but Aoba warns him about going against the dollars, allowing Ran to reveal he's part of the dollars. Aoba looks forward to the day he destroys Ran along with his minions. Izaya and Mizuki, with Mizuki being highly suspicious of Izaya about something, but he has a job for Izaya to investigate Mikado. My writing is absolutely wild at this point. Mizuki believes he's in a color gang and that he's going out with Anri. Meanwhile, Mikado is currently getting knocked out in a fight with his Blue Square members toss him in the van, with them asking Aoba if he's sure about having Mikado lead them, but instead he explains what their name means. But since sharks are supposed to swim in fast oceans, Mikado is necessary to embed themselves deep within the dollars. Kyohei wraps up his shift at work. Think about what Kita said about destroying the dollars, saying it's unrelated to the Harada incident and wants to save someone. Kita brings up that something odd has been going on with the dollars recently, that out-of-control members are being purged from the dollars. Kyohei tries to explain it away that yes, some people will disapprove of others doing things that are viewed as bad. Kida retorts that what if there's a simple explanation of what's going on, mentioning the blue squares being in the dollars, but doesn't state that Mikado is involved. If Kyohei decides to stick with the dollars, Kida promises not to fight him because he knows he'll lose. Kida paid the bill for dinner to say that they're even, which leaves Kyohei currently thinking about how Mikado is involved. He thinks about his last interaction with Mikado and how Mikado seemed so different from other times. Figuring he'll try his best to do something to help, he's suddenly struck by an unknown person in their car. All the while, Henri has been dragged into Erika's place to try on cosplay outfits with Azusa and Erika, while trying to correct them on the fact that she and Mikado aren't dating. Erika has another outfit ready for Henri, but she thinks Henri has grown another size in the chest department. She mentions that she heard from Walker that Kida is back in town, that Kida met with Kyohei, Walker, and Saburo. She gets a call from Kyohei's father that Kyohei was in a hit and run, which eventually reaches Shizuo, which peeves him off so much he blasts air away from his body in anger. In the chat room, Izia C is all over the hit and run story, and the fact that it didn't make news since Kyohei survived. Other members think Izia C is the culprit, but he reminds them of the dollar's bulletin boards. Izia is interested to see what Mikado will do about such a blatant attack on a dollar. Aoba and Mikado discuss going to visit Kyohei in the hospital, but Mikado is worried they'll run into someone they might not want to. Mikado suggests that Aoba goes to see Kyohei, not wanting Aoba to be lumped with him, and to not bring Kyohei any camellias or potted plants. Run, in his narration, says he doesn't hate Mikado at all while calling him a scumbag. So many uses of the word scumbag in that episode. But now we're getting to the pointy end of the second part of the season with episode 11, as news of Kyohei's brush with vehicular manslaughter spread quickly throughout Ikebukuro, with Erika noting that with how viral it went, it shows how vital he is. Celty and Shinra learn a bit after everyone else, mentioning that he did survive, but is still in a coma. She wants to go and see Kyohei, but believes the hospital won't let her in. Shinra is worried more for Celty than Kyohei because she would get involved with incidents involving the dollars. He explains that he sees Shizuo as the armed deterrent and Kyohei as the psychological deterrent. Shinra tells Celty to do what she thinks is right, even if she antagonizes the whole world, promising to be at her side. Celty says she'll keep Shinra informed on Kyohei's situation as it develops. She goes to prepare food for Shinra, but Aoba messages her wanting to talk. Tsuji meets with Shiki to talk about Haruna's disappearance, explaining all the details he already told Maju, and that is believed that the dollars are involved. Shiki believes that the dollars are amateurs that the Owakuzu group doesn't get involved in. Tsuji mentions that the dollars have been getting more shady recently, which doesn't surprise Shiki in the slightest. Shiki points Shuji in the direction of Mizuki, saying that if they have something coming up, he'll have to help out. Meanwhile, Mizuki learns from Izia that Mikado is the leader of the Dollars, while Izia feigns shock. But Mizuki sees through the act. He knows he knew the entire time. Mizuki thought Izia would hide that Mikado is the leader of the Dollars, but Izia says he wouldn't, downplaying what he is doing. Izia goes to leave when Mizuki says that the Dollars are like its own city and it's on fire. Light on fire! Many people are present to await the results of Kyohei's second surgery alongside Anri and Erika. Erika says that Anri doesn't need to be so concerned about Kyohei, but he has helped Anri many times before. She talks about how no one is able to function properly without Kyohei around because he never turns a blind eye to them. Anri asks where Walker and Sabaru are, who are currently working on tracking down who hit Kyohei. But first, Sabaru visits some Kushi High students to apologize in advance for ruining their school's reputation. Kita has gathered some members of the Yellow Scarves to discuss what to do about Mikado. Yatabe is the last to arrive, having arrived with Walker in tow to ask if the Yellow Scarves ran over Kyohei. Erika is at the hospital to tell Sabaru and Walker to stop what they are doing just that bit faster. Aoba takes Mikado to the location of the brawl that involved Heaven's Slave, and it's conveniently far enough away from Ikebukuro that their cover won't be easily blown for a meeting spot. Mikado quickly logs onto his computer, swiftly pulling up everything Dollars related, learning how everything went south in one day, and with what happened to Kyohei, banning people celebrating Kyohei's pain. Kita brings up they're not rich enough to have a card to Walker, but he's not there to accuse Kita, but others in the Yellow Scars. Unsure if that is the case, Kita lets Walker investigate the Yellow Scars while he asks those in the room if they smell kerosene. Walker pops back into the room to say that Shizuo has been arrested, but Mikado is glad it was after Shizuo left the Dollars. Aoba wonders if Mikado has been messed up from the start or if he broke him, with Mikado being glad Kyohei is in the hospital and Shizuo being arrested. It's almost like it's working out for him. He asks what Mikado's plan is if the Dollars end up falling apart, but Mikado asks him for an idea. Aoba suggests they promote another face of the Dollars in place of Kyohei and Shizuo, and was ready with Celti being that face. The meeting Aoba asked for with Celti was to beg her to be the face of the Dollars, but she declines, saying the Dollars don't need a symbol, only to acquiesce to Aoba's sad face. Celti asks what Mikado wants to do with the Dollars, but before he can answer, Mizuki arrives on the scene. Nomi decided to leave the safety of Izuya's office and was returning there, but got caught by Satoru and Kazune. She wonders why Kazune is with Satoru, trying to tase her, but fails and gets tased herself by Kazune's electric glove. With Nami captured, they only have Seiji to find in order to be able to torture him to get her to spill where Celti's head is. Nami makes statements about getting revenge if they touch Seiji, getting tased by Kazune again. In the chat room, Izuya places roles of Kanra and Chrome against Sharo and mentions that a war between the dragon zombies and the Yellow Scars might happen soon in Ikebukuro. He also lies, saying that the Yellow Scars might be declaring war against the Dollars with that hit and run on Kyohei. Also, according to Izuya K, Dragon zombie members are lurking near where the Kyohei incident was, and that dragon zombie members are in the dollars. However, it's revealed that Kanra was actually being used by someone else, and that Izia exclusively uses his Chrome chat room name. Oh, we're at the last episode, and my head is just killing me because of this helmet. In episode 12, Shiki narrates about how people meet each other by accident, whether they want to or not, through fate or conspiracy. Erika tells Henri to go home and rest, giving Henri the chance to call Mika, but she doesn't answer. Maju and Kinosuke run into each other at the hit and run spot, asking about how Kyohei is a higher up in the color gang, and that Shizuo was arrested. Verona's anger and Tom's reaction to it confirms that Shizuo is in prison, and Tom says he'll be out soon. Apparently a victim filed a complaint, and the police saw this as an opportunity to arrest Shizuo. Tom knows Shizuo wouldn't beat a woman without a reason, so there must be a misunderstanding or someone framing Shizuo. Verona would be glad if Shizuo broke out of prison, because that means she could take Shizuo on while claiming self-defense, but realizes she's looking for reasons not to fight Shizuo. She runs into Sloane, who explains that the Awakuzu group pulled out 10 of his teeth and sent him to work as an assistant for Izia. Sloane tells Verona to get out of Ikebukuro for a while, warning her that things are about to get dangerous and that they're going to be used as cogs in a war. Izia appears in front of both of them to say that, thanks to the lukewarm environment, she might be more terrifying than before. Learning Izia's name, Verona tries kicking him in the head because he's Shizuo's mortal enemy. Izia doesn't care about fighting, but he is interested to see which side Verona will go towards and will love her as a human being. Leaving with Sloane, Izia wants to go find Nami after losing contact with her around dusk. He also adds that Verona will be very likely to avoid becoming someone else's pawn in his game, and Shiki adding that her heart started to change back when she arrived in Ikebukuro. Meanwhile, Mikado is terrified he's about to die to Mizuki, but is instantly put at ease at Mizuki's reaction to his reaction. Mizuki casually defeats 2 of the blue squares, and Mikado thinks it's a supernatural power. Celty reveals Mizuki's name to Ikebukuro, and that he's a higher up in the Awakuzu group. Mikado thinks the dollars have caused him trouble, but they haven't yet, and Mizuki puts forward a choice of working with the Awakuzu group or being crushed by them. Mikado just wants a place for the dollars to belong. Mizuki explains that this was a warning. Mizuki shows how much he knows about Mikado and that he's been a member of the Dollars for 6 months. He brings out Suji as part of a request from Mikado as a Dollars member. The confusion between how Mizuki and Celty know Suji is overshadowed by him begging for help from Mikado to find Haruna. Walker is chased by Ran to the top floor of a parking lot and asks if Ran was involved in Kyohei's accident. Ran doesn't confirm if he was, throwing a sledgehammer at Walker and preparing to deliver the final blow, and revealing he will go after Kyohei next. However, Walker's improvised flamethrower saves his head from being cracked like a watermelon, and confirms Ran didn't attack Kyohei. Adding to Walker's luck, Ran receives a phone call calling him away from his attack on Walker and Kyohei. Walker picks up the sledgehammer and breaks the fourth wall to say he needs to look for a hideout. Henry looks at the dollar's bulletin board, seeing a message about someone looking for Haruna, making her worry about those she cares about being dragged into the situation. The next day, Mikado and Celty talk privately, with Mikado feeling like she's the main character in the movie when she talks to Celty. She asks if that's why Mikado can't tell the difference between reality and fiction at the moment, bringing up Henry's worry for him. Mikado believes he has found his purpose, that he can change the flow of things around him. Celty brings up his purging of the dollars, and Mikado explains that he wants the dollars to be like they were in the past. She says that violence won't solve his problem, but Mikado knows what he's doing isn't right, much like how society didn't like the founding of the dollars. Mikado reveals he knows that Kida is targeting him with the help of the Yellow Scarves, and that he and Henry made a promise they will talk about everything when the three of them are back together. He's already on the forefront of attacking the Yellow Scarves, having sent Aoba and the Blue Squares to attack. Aoba has the Blue Squares preparing to torture a member of the Yellow Scarves, and even if he doesn't crack, it's also a declaration of war. Celty loses it on Mikado, but he says he's sane. But she says that Mikado is the bad guy this time, saying Aoba is untrustworthy. But Mikado knows Aoba is using him, much like he's using Aoba, and talking about how entangled the thread between himself and Kida is that it might never be untangled, Mikado plans to burn it and start from scratch. The Yellow Scarves member they were planning to torture reveals that Kida's sword is coming and staged the entire thing to get the Blue Squares. The Blue Squares manage to escape the situation, and Kida thinks the attack was orchestrated by Mikado and not Aoba. Kida is prepared to chase Mikado down into the same depths that Mikado has gone for his goal, even if it means asking Harada for help. Kasane and another man she works for still haven't found the whereabouts of Izia, who has seemingly vanished. The man receives a call directly from Izia, revealing him to be a Junai Yodogiri as well, and asks about Nani's location. When he doesn't reveal Nani's location, he uses a psycho-controlled person to hit him with a car. And Kasane kindly calls Junai 5 to say that Junai 8 has been injured, only for for number 5 to be hit by a car too. Izia then calls Kasane to say she knows she's the leader of the Junai Yodogiri group. He then adds that Kasane isn't even her real name, and she explains that she got the name through mutual consent with the real Kasane. Also figuring out that Kasane assumed his old chat name, he asks what's up with the meows in the messages. Izia is just interested in what Nami's reaction would be to him saving her, despite her disdain for him. Turns out that Kasane was the one that sold Sayaka to Shingen, and she reveals that Sayaka has another method of reproduction called dissection. Izia is suddenly attacked by a Sayaka-controlled Sloane, and told by Kasane to bring Izia to number 12's office to question him about Celty's head. He's glad that Izia destroyed the Junai Yodogiri group, which now gives her the freedom to act alone. Celty returns home to find Amelia preparing a party for a bunch of people that have shown up, which includes Walker and Saburo, Mika and Seiji, Nami, Igor, and Shingen and Amelia herself. And that gets into Ketsu, which I accidentally started on at the start of this podcast episode. But for now, for this section, for this podcast episode, links will be in the description to both the channels and to Twitch for you guys to go check out. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when it comes out. A ding. I'm Sakurata out.